to the Fantasy Boardroom. As always, I am your host, Tycoon, and we call this meeting of the Fantasy Boardroom to session. Let's freaking go. So we are in the home stretch of the fantasy football season. We're past week 10. We've only got 4 weeks left to go in the regular season. This is a span that'll make or break you. This is really where you got to put all your chips on the table. And if you're within 2 games of a playoff spot, you are still very much alive. So do not give up. We got Schmitty in the house. Yo, what's up, Schmitty? Hopefully you've got your team comfortably in a playoff position. But if not, then, well, hopefully we can help a little bit. So that's where we're going to start, though. For those people that are comfortably in a playoff position, first, second place type teams, this could be really a time where you have an opportunity to take advantage of more desperate squads that are fringe playoff teams or out of the playoffs, what have you. Just anybody that's in a more desperate position. So what this should give you is the opportunity to trade for an elite player, particularly target guys on buys this week and next week. This week, not a ton, but you might have a chance to snag Mike Evans before his return in week 11 or James Conner. Excuse me. But next week is where you really have a real opportunity. If guys like the Falcons are on bye, so you've got Drake London, Kyle Pitts, Bijan Robinson, you've got Josh Allen on bye, Chase Brown, Breece Hall, Garrett Wilson, if that's even your flavor. I don't know, the Jets are kind of a mess, so I don't know if I want to advocate too hard for Jets at the moment, but a lot of quality players on bye in week 12. So that's really where you can have a chance to use, well, let's put it this way. If you are in this type of position, that means you've probably got good depth and had good injury luck. So with that in mind, you'll be able to use that depth for some kind of 2-for-1 possibly, or really just somebody that can help them right now this week because they have to win right now this week. You can afford to risk the potential loss of that stud for the rest of the season and for the playoff run. Make every effort to do so. Target guys on buys here in the next couple of weeks aggressively. Pompano, you damn right, man. We are so back. We'll see how long the show goes. But we are back, baby. Yeah, didn't do the show last week. Had the election and all that shit going on. So figured people's attention was probably going to be elsewhere. Didn't want to try to compete with what everybody else was consumed with, or not even if consumed, but just, again, attention was elsewhere. I was not trying to compete with people running for president. So F that. What is up, Joe, baby? Glad you're here too. We do need a moderator in the house. So yeah, that's my strategy for suggestion for those that are in top playoff position, though. Go ahead and target aggressively players that are on buys the next couple of weeks, the top players, and just see what value you can squeeze out of that. But you want those guys for the longer run and really just solidify your top spot. Now, if you're in the 3rd or 4th place range, a little bit different story. For the most part, you probably want to hang tight. You're not trying to get too risky. Just kind of dance with who brought you there kind of mindset. But you can look for small opportunities to make an upgrade, perhaps on a team that is on the outside looking in, possibly, towards that 11-12 spot that maybe delusionally think they still have a chance. But you don't want to be overly aggressive for a couple of reasons. One, it's always kind of fishy when a last place team that's really out of it is trading big players. It's bound to attract a lot of negative feedback from your league, and in some cases, legitimately. So just be careful about that. But just see if there's little depth pieces that you might be able to snag away from guys that are really looking to make an impact right now. And most importantly, though, just protect your position. Once you're in the playoffs, anything can happen. And if you're a 3rd, 4th place type team, your team's clearly good enough to win a lot of weeks. So you just need those big weeks to happen while you're in the playoffs. But that's definitely the number one goal. Just stay where you are. You know what I mean? Just don't be unnecessarily risky, because you don't want to end up finding yourself fighting for a playoff spot in the last week or two. Season in the house, what up, brother? Glad to have you here. So that's really where it is. And now, if you're just barely hanging on or outside of the playoff picture, Unfortunately, you kind of have to play ball with the guys that I was talking about at the top, the people in first place. If you do have some of these studs on by, honestly, you just got to take your chances. Most importantly, is getting into the tournament, that top six, that chance to win it all. So trade who you have to get guys that will give you points right now this week to help you get the victory against whoever your opponent is. Maybe you're lucky. Maybe you're playing the last place team and you don't have to quite make that sacrifice yet, but it's still something you need to absolutely ensure that you are getting a win this week right now. I mean, you almost have to treat it like it's daily fantasy. All that matters is right now. You simply can't take another loss. You can't. Got Mike Swift in the house. Swift. All right, I can get on board with the Swift. What up, Mike? Would I drop Dell because no, I would not drop him. No. I'd be a little more cautious in starting him, depending on your other available options, but certainly don't drop him. I mean, he's still the second receiver on the team. Diggs is done for the year. It's Collins and Dell. And Stroud, it's been a little bit of an underwhelming season, a little bit of a sophomore slump at times for him, but he looked good or it looked like it was starting to come together for him again this Sunday, at least in the first half. So, no, do not drop Dell. Certainly do not drop Dell. So, yeah, that's where and then if you're in the last place situation, honestly, just don't screw your league by trading top players to top teams for nonsense. And stay playing with integrity. Continue to set your lineup, run your team a normal way. Also, if it looks like you're not a playoff team, it is still okay to use waivers. I don't care what anybody says, so go ahead and do that. Still manage your team, though. Show respect for the league as a whole. Nothing worse than people that just stop paying attention as soon as their team is out of it. Although, if you're still watching a fantasy show in Week 10, I'm guessing you guys still have a shot, so that's awesome. And let's get you into the playoffs and win. Would be starting Dell or Downs. I mean, I'm probably starting Dell. It'll be matchup dependent, really. Whoever has the better matchup between the two, but I'd start Dell over Downs still probably on a regular basis, even with Nico Collins' return. I feel like I just can't shut up about it. I'll probably bring it up every episode until he starts to suck again. But Mark Andrews, baby. Just proud of this one. I wanted everybody to hold the line, stay patient after those two donuts. He's still Mark freaking Andrews. And if you have done so, you have been rewarded. And if you do take away those 2 zeros, and I know you can't, but he'd be TE5 on the season by points per game. He's been a tight end 1 in 4 of the past 5 games, and he's been a top 6 tight end in 3 of those, and top 3 in 2 of those. So he's cooking. Lamar is just so good. And so is Andrews, hoping benefit from Lamar's greatness. Just ride that, man. Lamar's on a fast track to his 3rd MVP. And, I mean, that's going to help boost the players around him, and Mark Andrews included, independent of his own tremendous talent. So keep riding that, baby. Let's go. I don't have a lot of specific trade targets, waivers, all that stuff. I let Ant and Frank and Mike and Phil kind of handle most of that. Kendall, I guess they all kind of do it. But I just don't want to do that same kind of show all the time. So my main focus tonight really was just on how to approach the rest of the way with where the position of your team is. So that's the core of it. Now I'm just going to go through the random thoughts, and then if anybody has any questions, any Q&A we want to get to, I mean, I still have opinions. I just don't run that same kind of show, obviously. So we'll get through these thoughts, and then we'll see what you guys have to say, and then we'll get out of here when you guys have nothing else to say. So number 1, Deontay Johnson is dead. I still think, actually, I haven't really gotten to weigh in on this trade because actually I missed 2 weeks in a row, and I don't think I've had a show since Deontay was traded to the Ravens, but it was just about the worst possible landing spot imaginable because it hurts. It kills Deontay. It hurts Bateman. It hurts Flowers, and it hurts Andrews. Now, maybe it doesn't hurt the other guys as much as I thought. Maybe it's going to be more minimal. We'll see. I mean, obviously, the first week with Deontay, wasn't really expecting anything. But this past week, really still doing nothing after being with the team a week and a half in a game that was a shootout. I'm good on him. And I'm a big Deontay fan, but this was just the worst case scenario. I don't even know why they traded for him. Just horrible. So I think he's just an insurance policy for them, really. So he's benched or dropped, as Joe said here in the comments. And I got to stay cautious with Bateman now, too, although he balled out last game. Also, you don't even have to worry about Brooks, man. Jonathan Brooks. If you have Hubbard, just keep rolling him after the bye, man. The new contract that he got speaks a lot of volumes. This was a swing and a miss by me. I do have him on a few teams and on some best ball teams, expecting him to return, midway through the season at some point and be kind of that secret weapon. And even when he does play, if he does play after the bye, he's certainly not just going to be taking over for Hubbard. That's not happening. So if you're a Hubbard owner, don't even trip. And if you had Brooks as his handcuff, well, fantastic. Just continue to do that. I won't be able to bring myself to bench DJ Moore or DeAndre Swift, but man, I got a bench all Bears until this coaching staff is fired. And I know Shane Waldron was fired today, hallelujah, but it's just such a disaster in Chicago until Eberflus is gone too. Just the vibe on that team, sadly is terrible. And it was looking so promising. I was feeling so good about this team. I was very high on them going into the year, and it's just really fallen apart. Really kind of upsetting. And to our boy Kendall over at the Fantasy Football Tavern, big Bears fan. Shoot, sorry, brother. Drake May is much more impressive than I expected. That is for sure. I wasn't really a believer. I'm not even sure I still am a true believer, but yeah, nothing else really add to that. The kid is just a gamer, and I respect it. He's so yeah. Long term, I'm still we'll see, but he's definitely showing me something. He's a dog, like straight dog. He's like Will Levis, but a lot smarter on the field and more talented. So yeah, good luck to him. Hope he does well. And I'm not sure I can bench Brian Thomas Jr. either. Speaking of guys, I'm not sure I can bench. But otherwise, with Mac Jones at the helm, while Trevor's out, man, I want nothing to do with any Jaguar. That is gross. I don't want to watch Mac Jones play quarterback. Neither do you. Sam Darnold has turned back into a pumpkin. Yes, he has. Somewhat predictable. A little bit of a bummer because I have a soft spot for Sam. Always have, but yeah. Against the Jags, too. Pass funnel defense, just terrible. Justin Jefferson is safe, but otherwise be cautious with the rest of them. Madison, Hawkinson, Aaron Jones got injured. Yet another injury to add to the list. So I'm just, as far as the Vikings go, probably just sticking with JJ for the time being and keeping an eye on it. Speaking of quarterbacks I didn't believe in that have been a little bit impressive, Bo Nix, similar to May. Now, I'm not quite as impressed with Bo as I am with May, if I'm being very honest. But he's been competent and good at times. So I'm keeping an eye on that. So I'm still staying away from anyone not named Cortland Sutton on that team for fantasy purposes because Sean Payton is an absolute madman. I think we all expected, say, Audric Estime to get a larger role potentially soon, but to see Javonte just disappear out of nowhere. I mean, this is just like trying to figure out, what wide receiver to play when Peyton was running the Saints. It was impossible to determine. So I'm just going to say Sutton, and that's that. And Bo Nix and Superflex, of course, but that's Superflex. Justin Herbert on a heater? Yeah, he is. Herbert is, well, to quote his head coach, Jim Harbaugh, beast mode. And he's a top quarterback moving forward. Quentin Johnston is continuing to impress as well, frankly, and I've been flexing him for a bit, and I'm going to continue to do so. I mean, the touchdowns keep coming. He's benefiting from Justin Herbert's incredible greatness, and it's fantastic. Should I try to trade DeAndre Swift since the schedule is about to be terrible? Well, probably, but coming off of just this past week and the last couple weeks of the Bears in general, just looking bad, frankly. I'm not sure what you're going to be able to command for him. Probably going to be a little bit of a tough sell, but if you can get a quality starting player for him, I would certainly consider it. Because, yeah, I don't really know what to expect from the Bears moving forward here. The schedule is going to get tougher. And we'll see how the offensive coaching change affects him, but it's a bit of a mystery. The New York Jets suck. I'm still not sure, kind of like some of these other players. I can bench any of the big three being Breece Hall, Garrett Wilson, and Devontae Adams. And that just makes me hate them more because I'm going to continue to start those guys. Maybe one of the three does okay any given week, and overall I'm just going to be frustrated, annoyed, spiraling into sadness, depression, spiraling into true anger at Aaron Rodgers. Then it's just going to extend from there. I'm going to start looking for people to investigate and prosecute ayahuasca use around the world. Any of the conspiracy theories that Aaron Rodgers himself believes in, we will be spending a lot of time on at that point. No, it's just frustrating when you have talented players in teams that are a mess that you just can't help but start anyways because they are just so good individually. And sometimes, just as a human being, it can be hard to separate them from the situation. Sometimes you have to, but I don't know. I'm still not sure. There are, in the case of Breece Hall, I'm not sure there are 24 other running backs that I think are a better option to start regardless of what's going on in New York. Yeah. So I'll put the clown makeup on, put the nose on, put the wig on, and we'll go back to the circus week after week. And lastly on these thoughts, man, just forget all of the Cowboys the rest of the season as well. Without Dak, this offense is not functional. It looks like Miami without Tua. You can play Dowdle in a pinch, I guess, because he's still just going to touch the ball enough. And CeeDee Lamb is virtually impossible to bench. But if they continue to... Well, we'll see how they continue to do. But, under 100 yards passing, yeah, that's just not going to be a viable production to be starting receivers from. So, Rush and Lance just aren't going to get it done. This team is dead in 2024. Can I rate these QBs rest of season? 6-point passing TDs. See, Wilson's schedule, the Pittsburgh schedule is about to get tougher. I want to put Wilson at the top here, but it's probably, oh God. See, I gotta know the schedules of these guys a little bit better. So let's see what we got here. But I will answer your question, man. Let's see what we got. So Matt Stafford, who do they have down the stretch? Patriots, Eagles, Saints, Bills, Niners, Jets, Cardinals. It's not great, not horrible. But he does have Nakua and Cup back, although that didn't help him too much against Miami last night. Let's see. Denver Broncos. So they have the Falcons, the Raiders, the Browns, the Colts, the Chargers, the Bengals. That's actually kind of nice. Bo Nix might be leading the pack here. And then we'll finish it off with Gino. With the Seahawks. Niners, Cardinals, Jets, Cardinals, Packers, Vikings, and Bears. Yeah, so I'm going to say, let's double check the Steelers, but I know they haven't, I don't even think they've played a division game yet, so it's a lot of tough division games the rest of the way. Yeah. Ravens, Browns, Bengals, Browns, Eagles, Ravens, Bengals, Chiefs. Yeah. All right. So I am going to say Bo Nix, Russell Wilson, Geno Smith, Matthew Stafford, in that order. I'm still going to leave Wilson second. Because the Bengals' defense is ass and the Browns are just a dead team. So the Ravens games are tough. But sometimes division games are just tough. Stafford, honestly, they just, when they're close, they give Kyron a lot of that red zone work. So the touchdowns just aren't quite there for Stafford. And I simply don't trust Geno, and the schedule is not that great for Geno. So yeah, Bo Nix though, very favorable schedule, and he'll run around a little bit. So yeah, give me Nix first, Russell Wilson second, Geno Smith third, Matthew Stafford fourth. Just traded Josh Allen and Zach Ertz for Burrow and Bijan in a 14-team superflex. Good move, needed a solid RB2. Well, if Burrow keeps having games like he just did, that's going to work out tremendously for you. I think it's a good move. I mean, I think there's a pretty significant gap in general between Allen and Burrow. I would obviously always much rather have Allen, but the gap is far larger in terms of production value between Bijan and Ertz. So yeah, Bijan is. I would definitely rather have Burrow and Bijan. I think that was a fantastic move and nice work, and especially in Superflex because you still have really high end pieces in both positions in comparison to. I mean, where is Zach Ertz even ranked? I mean, yeah, he's tight end 17. So yeah, you traded tight end 17 in order to obtain. Yeah, RB5. So I think that's pretty damn good. And especially, and let's see, what's the difference? And Burrow's even ahead of Josh Allen right now in fantasy production. I don't think he'll finish ahead, but I mean, after you have monster games like last week, that's going to help pad those stats. So yeah, you seemingly upgraded in both positions. So fantastic. That is great work. Thanks for the QB advice. One more. I said to bench the Cowboys. I did. This week, would I play Ferguson or Taysom Hill? I mean, instinctively going to say Taysom because Cooper Rush or Trey Lance throwing balls against the Texans on Monday Night Football. Yeah. But let's see who the Saints have. The Browns. Yeah, no. And they're at home. Taysom Hill for sure. I would definitely rather play Taysom. Not even close. And especially with guys injured, I mean, Taysom's gonna get creatively. I mean, he had an 88-yard touchdown, I think it was, that was called back on a penalty this past weekend. A heartbreaker for me as somebody who actually does play Taysom in a few leagues. But they still kind of force it, even after Payne's been gone. Now even Dennis Allen gone, so first week out of there, they're still just getting. He's a playmaker. They're just getting the ball in his hands, and that's with Olave out and Shaheed out. They can't give the ball to Kamara 50 times a game. He's gonna get those touches, and also just those kind of little trick plays. He might still throw it once or twice in any given game. He'll get sometimes those inside the 5 carries, little wildcat formations. He gets involved, and Ferguson is going to be relying on guys that are just not very good. I still hope that Trey Lance has life in the NFL at some point, but I mean, where he is and stands literally this second, it's not a strong NFL starting quarterback. So, no, I want no part of that offense taking on Houston. Go ahead and give me the Saints and Taysom Hill. You are very welcome, Mike. Thank you for being here. Always appreciative. Well, I don't really have anything else. Those were all my big thoughts and my opinions for how to go navigate the rest of the season, depending on where your team is at. Oh, we do have one more question, though. So here we go. Do I think Anthony Richardson and Justin Fields will both stay benched rest of season? If Russell Wilson stays healthy, yes, I do think Fields stays benched rest of season. Richardson, I think he does, but I think there's a much greater chance that Richardson ends up back in the fold for one of two reasons. Flacco's pretty immobile, so I mean, there could be a spot where he just gets absolutely tagged by a defender and may get injured. He's older. But alternatively, as much as he is, a more accurate passer overall and still able to be more productive through the air, he's also much more of a turnover machine. I mean, 3 picks this past weekend for his 2 touchdowns. So, I mean, if he's continuing to throw 3-4 picks a week, I mean, as rough as times have been in stretches with Anthony Richardson, they may have to consider going back but I would not be putting really any eggs in either of these guys' basket. And I definitely think Fields stays benched as long as Wilson stays healthy. I don't think Wilson will get benched for any performance reasons. And that is it, my friend. That is it. So, as always, I want to conclude here by saying thank you very much for your time because it is the most valuable thing that you have. It is the one thing you cannot buy, the one thing you cannot replace, and I am humbled and grateful every time that you choose to share some of it with me. And I hope that you guys all have a great night. I hope you guys win this week. We'll get back here next week, continuing on this home stretch, this playoff push, baby. And we'll get there. We'll get those victories. Get those fucking dubs. All right, baby. Well, this meeting of the fantasy boardroom is adjourned.
Wanted to write fantasy is the play. Marking nothing but I tune every Friday. Strategies provide.